Christmas, a time of joy, filled with spending time with loved ones, making memories, sharing laughs, and giving gifts. Truly the greatest time of the year. But what happens when gift giving goes horribly wrong? When one innocent gift causes more harm than good? That's what we are here to talk about, when Christmas becomes a haunting nightmare. This is the 12 Days of Spookmas. The Clapper. Picture the scene. You get home late from work after a long day of dealing with idiots, and you're dead tired, and all you want to do is grab a cold one and go to crash on the couch in front of the TV, or simply head to bed. During times like this, we get lazy, throwing clothes and shoes off haphazardly, and the mail is lying forgotten on the table because we're so tired, we just don't care anymore. We've all been there, and there's no shame in it. But what if there was a device that could help us in our quest for laziness? You wouldn't even have to get up out of your seat. That's what this next item is all about. In the early 1980s, advertising mogul Joseph Pettit, who had recently struck gold with the Chia Pet, was looking for his next big success. One day, a pair of Canadian inventors from Patron Electrical Systems came to him with a small box which they called the Great American Turn-On. Go ahead and laugh, I know I certainly did. The box was a simple circuit of base electronics with a microphone and two electrical sockets in the front. When you plugged your appliances into them, you could turn them on or off by simply clapping your hands. Pettit liked the idea, and soon a deal was made with the two inventors. Unfortunately, the Great American Turn-On turned out to be a Great American Turn-Off, meaning it didn't work. The company received hundreds of complaints. The device worked intermittently, either not working at all or having trouble picking up the number of claps. Also, the microphone was way too sensitive, being activated by the slightest noise such as dogs barking or coughing. One customer became spooked when she walked into her bedroom to find her TV on. It turned out that the opening and closing of her closet door was setting the device off. But worst of all was complaints of TV short-circuiting and blowing up. Despite having insurance, Pettit lost $60,000 in marketing fees. To make matters worse, the two inventors who made it tried to make off with the money collected from investors. But Joseph Pettit was a tough customer and didn't take kindly to being messed with. After a trip to the courtroom, Patronix Electrical Systems was sued into bankruptcy. Pettit's first attempt at a clap-activated switch was a dismal failure, but he was also not a man to give up easily. His company, Joseph Enterprises, bought the failed device outright, and he developed the idea for 2 more years until one day he was approached by a physicist named Carizel Stevens. He claimed that he knew how to make the device better and offered to help. While Stevens redesigned the device, Pettit went about creating a new marketing campaign. By 1985, he had renamed it the Clapper and came up with a new slogan and commercial. On a funny side note, the name was criticized by others in the company, who feared that the customers would associate it with clap, a slang term for gonorrhea. Nonetheless, the device went on sale for $20, and the company's concerns were soon proven wrong. The new Clapper was a drastic improvement over its predecessor. The box was ingeniously simple, containing only a microphone, an electronic sound filter, 2 electrical switches, and 3 LEDs. The device was programmed to turn on each of the 2 outlets, one at a time, after a certain number of successive claps, followed by a half-second pause. 2 claps to turn on a light, 3 claps to turn on an appliance, for example. The LED lights helped with this process. Every time the user claps, a light turns on. If you still had trouble with this, the device was smart enough to automatically adjust the volume, or you could tune it manually with a dial on the side of the box. The Clapper also had different modes. The home mode allowed it to function normally. The away mode made the microphone ultra-sensitive. The idea was that if a burglar broke in, a light or appliance would turn on and hopefully frighten the intruder away. I can only imagine all the various ways people had fun with this away mode. With all these new features, it was no wonder why the clapper quickly became popular, especially with seniors and people with disabilities. During an interview with The Sentinel, Michael Hirsch, president of Joseph Enterprises, said, "We certainly have this skewed to senior citizens. The value is there for someone who would have trouble getting up. But then there are mornings where we all have problems getting up." The clapper continued to gain popularity, and by 1988, it was estimated that most of the buyers were people aged 30 to 40 and presumably fit, though it had a fair bit of popularity with teenagers who simply wanted to get out of bed as little as possible. The commercial was also a huge selling point, with its catchy yet cringe-worthy jingle and a visual demonstration of what it could do was regarded as one of the most popular and effective commercials ever made. But even with a total redesign, the new clapper still had some drawbacks. It was not recommended to be used with any heat-generating appliances over 250 watts. The microphone was still a bit finicky, and things like dogs barking could still set it off, though some dog owners train their dogs to bark at it. As TVs became more modern and home computers became a household item, it was discovered the clapper couldn't switch them on or off because they require computer-controlled activation. It was also not compatible with fluorescent lights. In 1991, the clapper made the news when 78-year-old Edna Hubbs of Chittenango, New York, sued Joseph Enterprises after she claimed that her clapper wasn't working. She became frustrated and clapped extra hard, sustaining hand injuries as a result. The case was dismissed by an appeals court in 1993, and the judge, who apparently had a sense of humor, ruled that Hubbs was at fault because of the one last extra hard clap that she did. But this didn't stop the creators from trying to improve it. By the 90s, it had the addition of a remote control, so you could operate it by claps or by the press of a button. The clapper was obsolete as the 2000s arrived. In this day and age, with things like Google Homes and various other speech-controlled devices, the clap-activated switch is very much a thing of the past. But for the old-fashioned among us, you are still in luck. In 2018, Joseph Enterprises was acquired by a collectibles company called NECA. As a result, you can still buy the clapper today. So despite a catastrophic failure and countless changes in technology, the clapper is still alive today. And for that, it deserves a round of applause.